This is the Alpha Wolf Girl, my league starter for Path of Exile Fate of the Wild. Now, big disclaimer, I have not played any of this content. This is all new stuff, so it's all going to be experimental. All the footage you see in this video is thanks to Ziggy and the endgame showcase that GGG posted themselves. Now, the wolf form itself focuses a lot on cold damage, and the entire combo looks like you dash in or pounce in. You use Lunar Assault, which is this big slash that freezes enemies really nicely, and then you use your quote-unquote default attack for the shapeshift form, and that attack breaks off ice fragments from these frozen enemies, and then you use cross slash to immediately blow those ice fragments up to nuke whatever you're trying to kill. This seems to be very smooth and cohesive, even though it sounds like it's a bunch of buttons, because one, you're pouncing in, you're using one different skill to freeze something with a slash, you're using another skill, which is your default attacks, to break off ice fragments, and then you use another skill, which is cross slash, to then finish it off. However, this shouldn't feel like you're using many different skills. It's going to be different buttons, but it should feel like a classic Devil May Cry or a fighting game combo where you're dash slashing in, and then you're doing like a light punch, and then a heavy punch to finish it off. It's what it seems like, and it looks like the most unique playstyle we've seen so far. It looks like proper actual combo playstyle without it feeling like you're forced into doing all these different niche combos that don't really make sense going together, but this does look like it all goes together as if it's just one big ability instead of it being multiple different ones. Speaking of that pounce though, look at how fast the wolf is moving. She has built-in movement speed out of combat while sprinting, and then you use pounce, which can go over walls, which would make this overall just feel super fast. And we all know that speed in Path of Exile 2 is literally the most broken thing. Now, there's not much else to say about this overall. This should be a very simple playstyle, but the choice that you're supposed to make here is what will you add alongside the wolf abilities to make it stronger, what ascendancy are you going to pick, and how are you going to scale the damage. So let's talk about that. Alright, here we are in the Path of Building, and of course there will be a written guide on Mobalytics because I am partnered with them now. So everything that I say about this build and any videos that I post about it will be updated here constantly. I will update this guide before I post any videos because updating a guide is easier. So if you want the closest to live updates without me actually live streaming, this written guide is going to be the best way to do it. Alright, here we are back in the POE, and disclaimer, this entire passive tree could change because they have not given the actual final passive tree after the changes, so I do not know what that is going to look like, so this could all change, but the basic gist of this passive tree will stay the same, and that is going to be stacking a bunch of crit, attack speed, and accuracy, and evasion rating for defense. Okay, so we have over here accuracy rating, attack speed, we have evasion rating, movement speed, we have attack speed, evasion rating, crit over here, 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 all of the crit stuff. Okay, along with that, I am also taking stuff like jewel sockets because jewel sockets are obviously going to be very potent, and maybe this could be copium, but I'm assuming they would have some new jewel socket modifiers for shape-shifted skills, potentially, like maybe damage as a wolf or maybe damage while shape-shifted. So those could be very nice to look at. Besides that, we are also obviously in Amazon. Now I believe Amazon is going to be the superior class for wolf specifically. For bear or dragon it might not, but for wolf you really want to hit fast, you want to hit hard, and you want to go next. Okay, that's essentially going to be the playstyle, and Amazon fits that very well with a few different things. First, this critical strike. This makes us get a bunch of crit chance based on how much additional chance to hit that we have. So this double dips on the accuracy that we're already stacking for attack speed and other good stuff. So that's going to be good over there. And we also get a bunch of added physical damage equal to 25% of the accuracy rating on the weapon. This makes gearing super easy because with the removal of homogenizing omens, you really need to have as easy of a time to gear as possible. So Amazon, at least on a league start setup, when you can't really expend hundreds of divines on weapons, should be very nice with penetrate and critical strike. Along with this, we also obviously have predatory instinct to get more damage. You could also go for elemental surge potentially, because in game, in the showcases, they showed that most of these form changes do have a way to generate charges, and you can swap between wolf and bear and dragon. So maybe using these surges could be nice. However, the way I'm going to go with this is going to be these 2 points. It's going to be this point as the third ascendancy, and the final one, the way I'm going to do this is going to be pretty simple. If the damage of the wolf doesn't seem bad at all, if it feels really good, then I'm actually going to go for Stalking Panther as my first ascendancy to get even more defenses. Once I get this, I will equip evasion boots, gloves, and helmet, and as much energy shield on my body armor as possible. Now, obviously, this first ascendancy is going to be literally in Act 2, so I don't know how much I can get, but any extra defense will feel nice, especially if the damage is okay. If the damage does not feel okay, I will go for either Predatory Instinct or Elemental Surge. This I'm only going to go for if there is an easy, smooth way for me to quickly generate a charge and then consume that charge as well. The best way I can think of is the power charge consumption. The dragon form lets you very quickly eat a nearby corpse, and that gives you a power charge. And just by using a normal attack of the dragon, it automatically consumes the power charge anyway. And if not, the oil barrage consumes it. Many things consume power charges. So whatever it might be, I could use this. Or if it's clunky or feels awkward, then I'll stick with this, just for some baseline extra damage against rares and uniques. For my second lab, if the damage does feel bad, then I'm going to go unspec whatever I took, and then I'm going to spec all the way into Penetrate. Critical Strike doesn't give you much in the early game, but Penetrate sure as hell does, because again, makes gearing easier, and gearing during campaign is probably going to be the hardest part. And then eventually for the fourth lab, it's going to look exactly like this. These 2 points, this point over here, and then this point over here. Now, the tree, as I said, is going to be very whatever. And then for the items, obviously I don't have the talisman base, but it's just going to be a very high fizz talisman. I will post a video on how to craft these once I actually get to the end game and I finish the campaign. I'll put up a video on how you can craft your baseline talismans. Hopefully it won't be too hard, and hopefully there'll be some good unique bases maybe for talismans. I'm really hoping and probably extremely hoping for a unique wolf form. I highly doubt it exists, because if it did, they probably would have showed it. But anyway, the rest of the gear is just going to be evasion rating on all of your gear pieces except the body armor. And for your rings, you just ideally want as much flat damage as possible, flat fizz being the best, and of course emerald rings for even more accuracy stacking. But that's just the baseline, right? The amulet can just be resistances, the belt can just be resistances, and the skills, obviously there are no skills in here because I don't know what would be the best ones to use, and obviously the wolf ones aren't even here yet, so just gonna have to wing it. Probably though, it's gonna feel really nice to just have Herald of Ice. Herald of Ice probably gonna be the one thing that you cannot replace. The wolf is all about cold damage and freezing, so not using Herald of Ice, you're just griefing yourself for no reason. Besides that, the other auras will probably be Ghost Dance for Evasion ES scaling, and maybe Wind Dancer for even more defense, but we'll see. We'll see. All of that is subject to change. Maybe the wolf form is so hilariously bad that I have to ditch the idea entirely. That is very possible, even though the devs said that they've heavily tested all of these forms and they're all good But hey, who knows, right? But that's going to be all for the most part. There's one final thing, and that is going to be the Lunar Blessing. Now, this is a quote unquote ultimate ability, which is a 10-second cooldown, and it gives you a big boost to damage, gives you attack speed, gives you movement speed, and the base duration of this is 5 seconds, but it gets extra duration per rage that you spend. Now, in the endgame showcase that the devs posted, it did look like the wolf form had rage uptime pretty consistently, but this is probably from that one spirit skill that they showed that just gives you rage regen. So it could be that. But if there is built-in rage somewhere in the wolf kit, then great. If there is not, then the rage generation would also be very, very nice because you ideally want to be in lunar form as much as possible. Because again, attack speed, movement speed, who doesn't like that? And the last thing, which might be an issue, might not be, is that all of these wolf skills, and I think every single shapeshift skill, is a strength int requirement. Okay, you can see it over here. This is a level 13 Lunar Blessing, and it takes 51 strength and 51 int. Lunar Assault, that's the only issue that I can see potentially, because if you want to equip the highest evasion rating gear, you need 115 dex just to do that. And then for the body armor, the highest ES body armor, you need 121 int. So those two are stat requirements alongside also needing strength to just use the skill might be annoying. You may need to get some attributes on your gear. Your passive tree alone might not be able to cover it. And maybe this node over here for an increased attack speed per dex might not be that good because you will need to sacrifice a good chunk of these travel nodes of dex and turn them into strength and int. So I'll see about that, but that is going to be all for this quote unquote build guide. And remember, I will keep all of this updated right here in the build planner. I will leave a link to this in the description, and I hope you all have a very fun league start, and I hope that I'm not going to get baited by the fantasy of being a wolf girl. Bye-bye.